matter we'll have is JAM Associates and Northwest Properties LLM. That stands for Lot Line Modification, for those of you keeping score at home. And Sharon, you're the committee on this, and Marco, you're the plan. Is the applicant on the line?
Should be Rick Whalen.
I don't see Rick on the screen.
Yeah.
Is he calling in? Matt, do you have anybody calling in?
There he is.
There he is. There's Rick.
Rick should be
Very
on
good.
right now.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, so Marco, take us away.
Okay, I'm gonna put on the screen so everyone should be able to see the lot line modification. Okay, so an application has been made to modify the lot lines of 80 Old Fireplace Road and 68 Muir Boulevard, represented on the surveys as lots 1 and 2 respectively, to transfer a strip of land of approximately 3,740 square feet from 80 Old Fireplace Road to 68 Muir Boulevard. Both lots are zoned CI, commercial industrial, are partially cleared with improved structures, and located within the Pine Barrens region. A site plan / special permit for 80 Old Fireplace Road was approved in 2006. However, a valid CO has not been issued at the time of review. A site plan / special permit for 68 Muir Boulevard, named Sperber Old Fireplace Road site plan / special permit, was reviewed and approved by the planning board in 2019. So the survey appears to depict a stone driveway in the area to be transferred that is not part of the approved site plan for 68 Muir Boulevard. It appears this transferred area will be intended to be utilized by the applicant for their commercial business. If the additional lot area is to be integrated into the lot, the site plan should be modified to reflect as such. The applicant's narrative has indicated that the previously approved site plan will be modified to construct a building of a slightly different size and shape should the modifications be made to the lot lines. The minimum lot area requirement for lots zone CI commercial industrial is 40,000 square feet. Lot 1, 80 Old Fireplace Road, is currently 43,743 square feet and will be reducing its size to 40,003 square feet, which maintains the minimum lot area requirement. Lot 2 is not conforming to lot size area as 25,494 square feet, and the additional square footage will increase the lot to 29,234 square feet, increasing its overall conformity. The new lot lines do not impact any setback requirements. The applicant has provided coverage calculations on their proposed survey that demonstrates that the proposed parcels will be conforming to building coverage and total lot coverage. The planning department has not received comments from the fire marshals regarding if additional firefighting protections are required at the time of review. The proposed lot line modification will require approval from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. The applicants are encouraged to submit an application to this agency as soon as possible if they have not already done so. The project is a type 2 action pursuant to SECRA and Chapter 128 of the Town Code. No further review under SECRA is required. In conclusion, it appears that the application will reshape the lots to be more conforming and to be more in line with the neighborhood. However, the previously approved site plan for 68 Muir Boulevard will not accurately reflect the property lines should the modification is to be approved and should be discussed by the planning board.
Okay, thank you very much, Marco. Mr. Whalen, please take us away.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
You?
So as you can see from the survey there that Marco has up, that we're talking about transferring the cross-hatched parcel of land at 3,740 square feet, and it serves as kind of a wedge of useless land that is inserted between Lot 2, which is the NW Properties lot, that's basically Rich Berber, and the parcel to the west, immediately to the west. To the north is the property from which we would be taking that land. That's owned by JAM Associates. So JAM Associates, as Marco indicated, has an approved site plan. They can't make any use of that wedge of land. You can see some of their parking. They have 2 parking spaces and a little turnout, I guess you'd call it, at the north end of that wedge. And, they can't go beyond that. That's their parking. That's not access to anything else. So the property is really kind of useless to the current owner. If it's added to the NW Properties parcel, which is lot 2 in front of you, then obviously you get a much more regularly shaped parcel of land. We have, I say we, Rich Sperber, NW Properties has a 2019 site plan approval to put a new commercial building on that property that would be used for Sperber landscaping. That building, and there is a drawing of it attached in the planning department memo. It has, it's set back and it has 3 different frontages, if you will, on Old Fireplace Road. It steps back, and the applicant had to get front yard variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. There are obvious advantages to Sperber to being able to acquire the wedge. Number 1, he could get a larger building. Number 2, the building that we have approval for right now would be relatively expensive to construct because you're not building a rectangle. You're really building 3 separate different size rectangles that have to then be, matched with one another because of that stepped frontage facing Old Fireplace Road. And finally, Mr. Sperber has told me that, the spacing in front of that building, although the building meets the front yard setbacks from for the most part, meets the setbacks from Old Fireplace Road, the maneuvering some of his larger trucks to maneuver them into the bays would be a little bit tricky. So acquiring the wedge would make the property much easier to design. What we would do is the expectation is that NW Properties or Rich Sperber will come back. Sperber Landscaping would come back and submit a revised site plan. We would change the building that you've currently approved. I believe that I believe that Rich had a very rough drawing done by Rob Smith. If you are interested, I can probably procure that and submit that to you. It would give you an idea of what a revised building might look like. It isn't a full site plan. We're not prepared to do an actual full-blown site plan until we know that we actually are going to get the lot line modification. But it would give you sort of an idea of what a revised building would look like. As I said, it would be larger. I believe it should be able to meet the front yard setback from Old Fireplace Road and wouldn't need variances. And just generally, circulation on the lot would be better. As I said, the building itself would be easier to build because it would be rectangular. It benefits all the way around. Obviously, JM Associates, they're able to sell a parcel of land that otherwise is really of no value to them. So, there's a conditional contract between the parties if the lot line modification is approved. I think just on all fronts, it makes sense to do it this way. If you want it, I can provide. I said I'll give you. I'll see if I can obtain that rough drawing by Rob Smith of a revised building. Lastly, we do have to get lot line modification approval or subdivision approval, whatever you want to call it, from the health department. I anticipate that the engineer on that project would be Drew Bennett, and we haven't submitted an application to date, but we do intend to do that.
Okay.
Any questions that you may have for me?
Let's hear from the committee, and then we can, unless somebody on the board had a question for Rick right now, or let's hear from Sharon then.
Yeah. No, this lot line modification makes a lot of sense to me. There's no reason, it just the JAM who's giving up the piece keeps its lot size, in conformance. And then the other one is smaller than we like. So it would just add to that, which makes sense. And again, make it more regular sized. And if they can, move the building away from the property line, again, yeah. So I don't really have much to say about this. I think it makes a lot of sense. And, having a drawing of the building might help, but I think overall you still have to come in front of us with a site plan for us to even consider it. So at this point, in terms of just the lot lines, I think it makes a lot of sense.
They're gonna have to modify the 68 Muir
Right.
site
Do
plan.
that. Yeah, they're gonna have to do that anyways. And then if they're coming in with a different site plan and a different thing, just do it all at once, right?
Yeah, no. And I mean, it's kind of, treading old ground, but I guess it'll, in the long run, be better off. Well, we'll see if we need to, if we even need them to bring a building drawing. All right, does
Right.
anyone else have any comments on this? Anybody on the board?
I just have a question. Rick mentioned that they need to get the health department approval. Why do you need to get that approval, Rick? What's that for?
The health department does require their approval for any form of a lot line modification. They actually treat lot line modifications the same way they treat subdivisions. So if you adjust or modify the boundary between any two or more properties, you do need to get Suffolk County Health Department approval.
I have
Okay.
I
a
mean,
follow.
they're mainly, I think the purpose of it is they want to make sure that you don't, put your septic system, on the wrong lot or in a place that they wouldn't otherwise allow. If they had no oversight over the process, then people could do things involving their septics that, the health department otherwise would not want to occur.
Lou, I'm thinking about, there was a site plan we saw up in the Springs, I think it was, where somebody's septic was on on their neighbor's property. And I guess that, Suffolk County doesn't, they don't want to encourage that. Randy, you had something?
Question for Rick. This is really a question about facilitating the applicant's review. I'm just wondering, it seems like, do you guys already have health department approval on the site plan on 68?
I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't looked at it for a while. We certainly applied to the health department. I honestly, Randy, I don't recall whether we got health department approval on the site plan approval.
I'm just wondering, I understand it's a conditional contract, but it seems like, if they could look at one application for the lot line and the new site plan, it might save you.
Well, they won't, but the health department won't. They treat it.
No.
One is site plan review, the other is like realty subdivision review.
Okay.
Different desk. Kathy, you had something?
Yes, I did. Thank you. I think this makes a lot of sense. The application for Sperber's lot was mine, when we ushered that through, and it was very complicated. And one of the thoughts was, and one of the frustrations, I think, was at the time that this little tongue of property wasn't available to Mr. Sperber. And I think this will really help in all the respects that Mr. Whalen points out. I think one concern that I just want to bring up is that this lot, the neighboring lot to the west, there was concern at the time, and it's still a concern of mine, that the two lots not function as one lot, because there was some some traffic back and forth from the western lot that is not part of any of this, but it's the neighboring lot that I think is owned by the same owner or by a company that the same owner owns. And that, I want to make sure that any subsequent site plan, if we were to, suggest that this, and I have no problem with that. I think it makes a lot of sense. It makes, two lots that are non-conforming a little less non-conforming, although it feels weird that we're creating a lot for that's going to require a variance now, because the JAM Associates is going to be slightly undersized now. So that, I'm not going to lose sleep over that one, but it feels a little odd to me.
No, JAM Associates is undersized.
It's not.
No, JAM.
I thought it said in your
I'm sorry.
narrative, in the narrative.
It did say in the narrative, but then Marco said that it was just over 40. So it
No, I
was.
got confused. Let me just explain. JAM Associates is lot one. Lot one will still be conforming, 40,000 square feet.
Yeah.
I thought Member Cunningham was referring to lot two. lot 2 is becoming more conforming.
Yes, no, I understand that. I was talking about this piece, which I highlighted in the narrative. JAM Associates will still comply with zoning in every way, except that the parcel will be slightly below the minimum zoning lot area for the commercial industrial zone.
No, that's not true.
No.
That's incorrect
That's inaccurate?
from
Right.
your narrative.
It will be over 40,000 square feet, which is the minimum required.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just reading from your narrative.
Yeah. All right, well,
And that's where the question came from.
Really?
So
I put that
thank you
that
for
way?
correcting that. That's a big help. And that's good because that was that it was giving me a little hesitation, but that's good. My only other concern is that once this is completed, which I hope it will be, this, lot 2 to grow, by this little strip, that the subsequent site plan will continue to divide these 2 lots rather than make them functionally as one big lot, because that's a concern that I have with adding this property, that presently that strip of property prevents that from happening.
Mr. Chair,
yeah, let's hear this and then wrap up. Go ahead, Rick.
I just want to clarify. I understand what Member Cunningham is referring to. The narrative we submitted, the second page of the narrative was wrong. It was an earlier version that got submitted. So
Okay, well, thanks.
that's why you saw that. And
No, that's fine. I appreciate that. You corrected that. Stuff like that happens.
You'll resubmit that, Rick, and
Because that was the information I had. So I just wanted to make sure we weren't skipping over something because it came from the applicant. Anyway,
all right,
so that's my only comment there, is the concern that it'll become one giant lot.
okay. Oh, yeah, well, Rick, the underlying ownership, are they identical?
No, the westerly lot is owned. They're both Rich Sperber. I mean, I don't know for sure if he's the full owner of both, but Rich Sperber is an owner of both. The westerly lot is owned by RCS Properties. So Rich Sperber has an interest, and I think a controlling interest in both properties. To just address Member Cunningham's concern, though, we don't intend to have them cross-linked. In other words,
That's my concern as well. I don't want to go through the back door of consolidating, and making some mega lot here.
Right. No, that's not proposed to happen.
Well, and not proposed, but as a practical matter, one way or the other, that can't happen.
Well, no. Let me just explain. The site plan that you approved on lot 2.
Mhm.
Our intention is that we have a slightly larger lot. We would rationalize that building, make it a rectangle. Access will still come in from Old Fireplace Road. We're not going to propose a connection from lot 2 to the RCS property. That's not intended.
All right. Okay. That's that. Thank you. All right.
You can put 2 CI lots together and have a site plan on a 2-acre lot. We do it at the industrial park, but I think what we're hearing here is there's two lots, 2 site plans, and they're not related to each other.
That's correct. That's correct.
And
Sperber Landscaping uses both lots, I believe, but that's basically.
Yeah, that's the big issue, I think, is just making sure that it doesn't become one mega lot. That's really my concern.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that, Kathy. All right. Thank you very much. So we'll look to hear from you after you take this a little further down the road.
All right.
All right. Next is new Singular Wireless at Town Hall. Is Eddie going to join us on this?
No, he's not.
Okay.
So
Do we have the applicant before you get started? Do we have the applicant on the line?
should be Wayne Smith.
I see Wayne Smith's name there. And I see Rick Van Bench. I apologize. Your name isn't completely there. You're muted.
Wayne is here.
Wayne is there? Okay.
I'm on for the next.
Is the bench? Oh, okay, very good. I go back to me in that case. Thank you.
I'm representing T-Mobile.
All right.
Wait,
T-Mobile was the 258 Springs Fireplace.
Right. So you said
Going
new
back to
Singular.
that later. Is
Got it.
Pamela who's the attorney or the representative for New Singular Wireless?
this
That's
is
Matt Lindblom, I think.
Yeah.
Do I see him there? I apologize. I'm not, who am I looking for? I apologize.
Matt Lindbaum.
I don't see him here.
We do not have Matt in the waiting room right now.
All right, Thomas, should we go on to T-Mobile then?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, well, all right, Mr. Smith, you can unmute yourself. We're going to do that. And then we'll come back to 44 3 Mile Harbor after we get this one done. All right, go ahead on, Eric.
Okay.
And
This is an
Ed, you're the commission, you're the board on this one.
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much. Go right ahead, Eric.
This is an application to modify an existing personal wireless service facility by removing 3 antennas and 3 remote radio heads and replacing them with 3 new antennas and 3 new remote radio heads at the existing position on a 150-foot tall monopole. The parcel is in East Hampton, Zone CI, and it contains the town's highway department building. This is a type 2 action under SECRA. The applicants have submitted photographs of the existing antenna arrays as well as elevation plans. These pretty clearly identify that there won't be a substantial change. It's a one-for-one swap out of equipment, but the board should determine if any additional visual information is required. They submitted an RF engineer's report and structural analysis, both of which check out. Really, our only substantive comment on this, and if I can screen share here successfully. Our only real substantive comment is that, as you know, recently there was a 199-foot tall stealth monopole approved on this site. Hopefully you can see the aerial photograph right now. You can see the 2 big shadows from the poles. The 150-foot monopole where T-Mobile's equipment is now is to the left of the screen. The new 199-foot tall monopole is to the right of the screen. The idea when we approved that 199-foot pole was to have all the carriers move over to that pole and then remove the 150-foot pole, which is the subject of the applicant's request and where their equipment is now. AT&T built that tower. Their equipment is at the top. Verizon holds the 2nd position. The 3rd position is available for T-Mobile / Sprint now that they're one entity. And is actually available at a higher, a greater height than where they are in the 150-foot monopole, basically at the top. So it would be in the applicant's interest to move over there. Additionally, their lease for the 150-foot monopole does expire in a year. It's my understanding that Eddie Schnell has had conversations with Wayne Smith and that this is a viable option. It's something we would recommend that they strongly consider. Again, that lease would expire in a year anyway, so it seems to make sense to make the move now. I will let Wayne Smith speak to that after the board has made their comments. The only remaining issue is that this Tier 2 modifications qualify as minor site plans, meaning you can waive the public hearing requirement. You did do that for the previous modification of this facility, which was in 2012. So in conclusion, it looks like the application is complete. Really, the only substantive issue here, issues, I guess, are whether or not it would be in the best interest of the applicant and the town to have them move their equipment to the new monopole, and then whether or not you want to hold a public hearing.
Okay, very good. Ed, like I said, it's yours.
Do we hear from Mr. Smith first?
Oh, I apologize for that. You're right. I'm sorry. I jumped ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
I agree with everything that was just said. T-Mobile does want to move, eventually move to the new pole. They're looking at that. They haven't had time to really make a firm decision, but in all likelihood, they'll be moving. But in the interim, they are looking to make the modifications at the existing pole.
They do know the old pole isn't long for this world, right?
Right, March, I think it expires March 26th of next year. But they, if they get the permit, they're going to make the modifications relatively quickly, and that'll afford them better coverage in the area for approximately a year.
Okay. Now, I'm trying to make a joke about in pole years, but I'll leave that alone. Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Smith. Ed, go right ahead.
Yeah, not much to say about this. It is a swap out. There really is no change in the visual impact of this. It would be great to get rid of it entirely, as is the plan a year from now. But it'd be great to do it sooner if that were possible and something T-Mobile would consider doing. This is pretty close to the highway department building, right? I'm assuming it's sort of within the fall zone, right? The highway department building, is that true, Eric?
Yes, it's right on top of it. It's about 10 feet away from it.
Okay. So, I think it would be my strong recommendation that I'm not sure why, it's not our place to make business decisions for you or T-Mobile, but it feels like the kind of thing that if there were an opportunity to sort of reconsider the timing on this, it would be in everyone's best interest to move it to the stealth pole now, as opposed to a year from now. So I guess that's just something that we can advise you on. I don't think that we can dictate that.
In the interest of good planning, as we often say.
In the interest of good planning.
Why
Yeah.
we do everything, isn't it?
Yeah, it would be great to have it moved now. It would allow us to take the pole, which is dangerous and unsightly, down now.
I
Do we know?
hope the applicant is hearing the encouraging words from the board.
Just real quick, wanted to just make clear that I agree with Ed's analysis that the board can ask, but it's up to the applicant, and if not, the board needs to just consider the modification that's before us.
Right.
Who owns the pole by the highway department?
We own the property. We own both poles.
So when the lease expires, the town could conceivably say, everybody's the pole's coming down.
Yes.
Well, they're the only tenants on the pole.
Right.
So Eric, do you know if the town is taking that position that they're retiring the pole next March, or a year from March?
I don't know if Eric would even, if that would be his purview to know that.
I mean, there hasn't been any kind of town board discussion about it or any resolution passed. This board discussed that in the previous application. And, Eddie Schnell is in concurrence that is probably the eventuality that would happen next year. So there's nothing in writing. There's nothing official as far as a town stance, but, this board has put it on the record that they would like to see that. And T-Mobile and Sprint technically have equipment on this tower. Again, they're merged now, but they're the only remaining carrier. I believe there's 2 whip antennas that are used by the highway department, according to Eddie, but they can easily be relocated. We don't need this tower for that equipment. So there would be, if once T-Mobile relocates their equipment, there would be no reason to have this tower at all. And it is relatively old and structurally not terribly sound.
Randy, it's not like a delicious old skyscraper in downtown Manhattan that we all know and love. It's a damn pole. So I don't think it'll be long for this world once it's done, but we don't know anything officially on that score just yet.
Well, let me just add, this has just been discussed by T-Mobile just recently, and there's no official word, but it would certainly seem that in all likelihood, I can't guarantee it, but in all likelihood, they will begin planning to move to the new pole. And just to answer your question, that's going to take a bit more time than proceeding with this application. So they want to make the modification now and then work. And I hear what you're saying, that you want to do it sooner rather than later, and they could then work towards the relocation.
All kidding aside, I mean, we obviously want to make sure that you're not going to diminish service. So, and I know that that's what's behind this application, is continuing or even enhancing the level of service.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If we have nothing else on that, public hearing, how do we feel about that? Thomas, do I need to run across the table on that?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. All right, well, actually, there was another question about, I'm sorry, I have to.
Information regarding visual impacts.
Information regarding visual impact. I suspect that that's going to be coming from the applicant, so we don't really need to ask for that, do we?
Well, you already have, I mean, I can show you right now, you already have a photo book. Let me try and.
I don't think everybody has that, Eric.
Yeah, they submitted photos of the existing facility showing the antennas, and then they also submitted standard elevation plans that show what's going to be replaced. Again, they're removing 3 antennas and 3 radio heads and replacing them with 3 antennas and 3 radio heads, all of nearly identical dimensions and design. So,
yeah, I have the photo book. It doesn't look like it makes any doesn't change it at all.
Unless you're a bird.
Right, maybe.
Okay.
Well, I don't think we need to, I mean, I
Well,
would.
let me just do it. I'm not going to go to the table. I'm just going to ask all those in favor of a public hearing? All those willing, against a public hearing? You got to vote one way or the other.
Let
Let me do it this way. Does anybody here want a public hearing on this?
No,
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 no.
Does anybody? So did I hear 6? Did I hear 6 no's? Did everyone say no?
all knows.
All no's, 7 no's. Okay, no public hearing.
But
All right.
Sam, I like in that we're not having a public hearing. I'm wondering if the attorney could include something in our findings about the discussion about the retirement of this pole. We don't really have a coordinated.
Well, I think what you're trying to do is you're trying to get a commitment on that, which I don't think that anyone's in a position to do.
I understand, but last we did have, when the Altice, when the other pole was built, we were told that the Altice tower was coming down. That didn't happen. So I just want to
remind me which one that is.
That's the one the 300-foot Cablevision tower or Optum. Now it's Altice.
Oh, around
corner of Abraham's and
yeah, the big one, yeah.
Can I just clarify? There was never talk that it was going to come down. The talk was that AT&T and Verizon, who had their equipment on that tower, were going to be kicked off by Cablevision because Cablevision is looking to promote its own, Wi-Fi and broadband technology. That has happened, and as I said, AT&T was the applicant for the new 199-foot tower. Their equipment is now in there and not on the Cablevision tower. And shortly after that was approved, Verizon came in for a modification to move from this old 150-foot tower, which they did have equipment on, over. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. They had an application to put equipment on there, but then after the 199 tower was approved, they scrapped that because they could get at a higher location on the 199. They willingly moved over without any prodding and are now in the 199-foot tower along with AT&T. And T-Mobile, there is space for T-Mobile to relocate. They can, in fact, put their antennas higher. So I don't know that there's really going to be too much resistance from T-Mobile. It makes sense for them to do it. It's a benefit to them.
Well, it's the town. It sounds like it's one of those things where the town's going to have to pay. Some of our newer tower deals,
this isn't really relevant to the modification. I mean, the board can ask them to consider it. The board can ask the applicant to consider it. And I know, the applicant's representative has said they're considering it, but as far as the modification, that's really a separate, if the applicant wants to proceed with the modification as filed, that's.
Yeah, really, I don't have an objection to that. I just want to improve the communication coordination on this. And I'm wondering if we could, we're not going to have a public hearing, but maybe Sam could send a note to the town board that the planning board felt, as it has expressed, that it would be advisable to have, this tower come down when this lease expires.
Think they need me to tell them that?
Well,
I agree with Randy. I think it's a good idea. We just send a note to the town board to say, in the interest of good planning, there's this other tower, and
Listen, I'm not gonna say no. I'm just thinking that.
That was
I'm
our plan all
thinking-
along. That was our plan all along. That was the point of putting up the bigger tower there. You know, that was the idea.
Well-
Any of the other, going back, a lot of the leases that we,
You know what? No one has to twist my arm on this. I mean, if
Yeah.
that, it was,
Yeah,
it
and
struck
Sam?
me as a, what, Eric?
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, it won't be difficult to send them a letter because the planning board actually already did that when the original application for the 199-foot tower was. So we can basically just take that letter and sort of resend it. Just
All we need to do is we need just to tell the town board that we approve this modification and that we look forward to, at such time as the tower is vacated, that it get torn down the next day, something like that. So.
Yeah, easy enough.
All right. No, like I said, no one has to twist my arm, and I just maybe I'm under the mistaken impression that the town board would do that, but we can always.
Sam, they have to negotiate the lease
that's right.
with T-Mobile in a timely way to have it all work. And if they,
Yeah, but T-Mobile's lease ends a year from now anyway, so that and T-Mobile's not going to want to have a location. So
yeah, but the lease could be renewed and the tower could stay up.
I hear you. All right. All right. Okay. Very good. Let's move over now to 44 3 Mile Harbor. And I thought we had the applicant on a moment ago, and I was mulling his name, and I apologize for that.
Rick Van Benskoten.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So who is it? Marco, this is yours.
Sorry, I was still screen sharing.
Okay. Hand over the screen to Marco.
I just did, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, everyone should see it now. Okay, so application has been made to change the use of and expand a non-conforming building by proposing a second floor office space, paved parking space, and extensive landscaping. The project consists of a 6,659 square foot first floor retail space for a wet retail market, and a 5,968 square foot second floor for 2 office spaces and 2 affordable housing units. A total gross floor area of 12,627 square feet, not including a 6,659 square foot basement and a 1,496 square foot wood deck. The project has decreased their square footage from their first floor by roughly 200 square feet and increased their square footage of their second floor by roughly 1,700 square feet. A separate loading zone, revised parking lot circulation, and landscaping along 3 Mile Harbor have also been proposed. The parcel is zoned neighborhood business, cleared of naturally occurring vegetation, and borders along a residential zoning district to the south and east.
Marco? Oh,
Yeah, I'm just zooming in,
I
sorry.
got it. That's all right.
So moving forward, the maximum permitted building coverage is 40%, or 13,985 square feet, and the proposed 6,659 square foot building complies with zoning. The existing total coverage is 30,135 square feet, where the maximum permitted is 24,473 square feet. The application indicates that the proposed coverage is 25,577 square feet, which remains above the maximum square footage permitted, although reduces the current non-conforming coverage by roughly 4,500 square feet, and would not require a coverage variance due to its reduction from their current non-conforming numbers. The existing building is pre-existing non-conforming with regard to setbacks on the northern and eastern side. However, it appears that a proposed staircase to the second floor addition located to the north, closest to the road, is situated within the required side yard setbacks and will need a side yard setback variance. The parking proposed on the southerly side is proposed close to the property line and does not meet the 30-foot setback requirement based on the double setbacks as it adjoins the residential district. There is a proposed 5-foot landscaped buffer in between the parking spaces and the residence. The parking facing along 3 Mile Harbor Road is located diagonally at one point on the property line and does not meet the 25-foot front yard setback requirement. The board would have the ability to relax these setbacks pursuant to Chapter 255-6-63 if it found that this was in the interest of good planning. The board had discussed setbacks in the previous work session and were favorable to relaxing the setbacks. The project includes a partial landscaping buffer in the right-of-way of 3 Mile Harbor Road that will need to be approved by the Suffolk County Department of Public Works. The applicant's revised proposal will now require approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance from the town's pyramid law. The sides and rear portion of the building have points that are beyond the pyramid line as depicted on the applicant's site plan. Parking calculations provided on the plan indicate that 59 spaces are required. However, it is noted that 58 spaces are required pursuant to Chapter 255-2-45 of the Town Code, 36 for the retail use, 20 for the office, and 2 for the apartment units, which works out to be 1 per 180 square foot of gross floor area for retail and office, 1 per apartment for apartments over stores. The applicant should revise their parking calculations on the proposed site plan. The applicant has proposed a total of 47 parking spaces. In total, a variance of 11 parking spaces would be required for the proposed project. It should be noted that the project site does not have a grandfathered amount of parking spaces. A previous formal parking proposal from the last approved site plan in 2000 was withdrawn due to insufficient space for parking and thus maintained their previous non-conforming parking lot area. A proposed loading dock located west of the building has been increased in size and is intended for deliveries and garbage pickup. The applicant should provide additional details for the loading dock, such as frequency of use and hours of operation. The landscaping plan has proposed plantings along the front of the property line facing 3 Mile Harbor Road. A portion of the plantings is proposed on County Road 40 and consists of mulch and evergreen trees and will require approval from the Suffolk County Department of Public Works. A landscaping buffer of 5 feet, also consisting of evergreen trees, has been proposed along the sides of the property bordering residential districts, and a new tree massing has been proposed on the northernmost side of the property. The applicant has submitted 2 photos of their light fixtures. The proposed site plan appears to have 25 light posts and 4 light bollards of an unknown height and brightness spread across the property. A comprehensive site lighting plan which meets all the provisions of the town code as well as the planning board's guidelines for exterior lighting should be submitted. All exterior light fixtures must be fully shielded as the same is defined in section 255-1-20 of the town code. Landscaping beyond the property line and alterations for the proposed access way will require review and approval from the Suffolk County Department of Public Works. An application should be submitted to the Department of Public Works with their improvements and preliminary comments provided to the board. No formal existing or proposed sanitary plans has been submitted. The applicant has submitted an engineering report from P.W. Grosser Consulting regarding the applicant's current sanitary system. It appears that the applicant is seeking to maintain their grease trap and leaching pools whilst upgrading the septic system to 1 new Fuji Sen 21. It appears it is an IA low nitrogen system, and the applicant should submit a survey to the planning board depicting where the existing and proposed sanitary systems are located. A complete sanitary plan illustrating the location and design of the proposed sanitary system, as well as complete calculations, must be provided to the planning board. As per Chapter 210-3-2, an IA low nitrogen system would be required for the project. Based upon these calculations and the requirements of the Suffolk County Sanitary Code, the sum of the proposed uses would have an approximated generated sanitary flow of 880 gallons per day. The total allowable generated sanitary flow for this 0.8 acre parcel in Groundwater Management Zone 5 is 240 gallons per day. It should be noted that all commercial properties are allowed a minimum flow of 300 gallons per day, regardless of the size of the parcel. The applicant has submitted a copy of an approved food establishment permit from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services, dated May 22, 1994, that states that the maximum occupancy at the time was 360 persons and has indicated an allowable 3,600 gallons per day, which is 10 gallons per day per occupant. The applicant has indicated that the site is grandfathered for 3,600 gallons per day of flow. However, a recent revision to Article 6 of the Sanitary Code appears to have eliminated grandfathering sanitary flow when a site has been vacant for 2 or more years, and a variance may be required. The applicant should provide additional existing and proposed sanitary information as mentioned above. A condition of site plan approval will be approval from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. No additional drainage or runoff mitigation plans have been submitted at the time of review. Spot elevations indicate that the middle and southern parts of the property will be the lowest areas. The applicants should provide a drainage plan with drainage calculations and structures in their project, that will mitigate impacts from potential flooding. A certain list of plans that have been omitted in the original application submission should be submitted as part of site plan review. Survey of existing buildings, structures, and uses with lot area and floor area for each floor. Revised survey that depicts the applicant's proposed improvements and alterations. Revised site plan that depicts all existing and proposed sanitary and drainage systems. Elevation drawings, east and south, west and north. A lighting plan as detailed above, and a landscaping plan as detailed above. The planning department has not yet received comments from the chief fire marshal regarding fire safety or ADA compatibility at the time of review. The proposed project will require approval from the ARB, and an application should be submitted to this agency if the applicants have not already done so. The second floor will have a gabled roof with a height of 35 feet. A portion of the roof above the offices have been proposed to install solar panels, and a portion of the roof above the apartments have been proposed to be a wooden deck. No information has been submitted regarding the color of the building or materials used for siding. In conclusion, the revised plans have made alterations that include changes to the size of the building, changes to the layout of the parking lot, and the need for a pyramid law variance, and the inclusion of 2 affordable apartments. There are remaining concerns that the applicant should address. These include, but are not limited to, sanitary flow and information, limited number of parking spaces, lighting near residential districts, and changes within the jurisdiction of the Suffolk County Department of Public Works. Variances required are pyramid law variance, a setback variance for side yard, and a parking variance.
Thank you for that very thorough and helpful report, Marco. Appreciate it. Does the applicant wish to be heard?
Mr. Chair, I'll speak first. Richard Whalen.
Oh, okay. I know you want this one.
Yeah, I haven't been previously involved in this site plan. The architect, however, Pamela Glazer, is here tonight, and so is Rick Van Benschoten, who is the owner. So you've got 3 people here tonight. If there are questions that are better answered by Pamela, then I'll have her address those matters.
Very good.
I have been involved with the property in the past. I did represent Sylvan Realty over a decade ago before the town board when the property was rezoned from commercial industrial to the current neighborhood business zoning category. Just some quick comments or observations or answers on Marco's memo. First of all, as Marco noted, there are no coverage variances needed for the project. And in fact, total lot coverage will decrease rather substantially, I think by about 5,000 square feet. The current proposal does show the stairway to the second floor that would encroach currently into the northern side property line. I've spoken with Pamela. We may be able to adjust the plan, revise the building design. You can see that there on the right, the yellow with the staircase, because that is 2 stories in height. So we may be able to pull that back. The second story there is new. And if we can retract that into the building, then we would avoid a side yard variance. So we may be able to do that.
You're talking about that little bump out on the side?
Yeah, right with it. Yes, there you go. Where Marco has the cursor. So we may be able to pull that into the building, if you will.
Or rotate it probably.
I'm not sure that we can eliminate the pyramid law setbacks. I mean, we might be able to minimize them somewhat, but the pyramid law setbacks are kind of a combination of the gable ends. You can see that's a gable end. I think that's facing the road, I believe. So the gable ends, the ridges encroach within the pyramid law, and our decking, our second floor decking, the railings are within the pyramid law. So, you know, we can avoid and minimize those, we will, but I'm not sure that we can completely avoid the need for pyramid law variances. And regardless, we are in a position where we would need 11 parking variance of 11 parking spaces. So that would send us to the Zoning Board of Appeals regardless. We accept the correct number of required parking spaces as 58, not 59, as Marco noted. The existing number of spaces on the property really has never been properly calculated. I mean, I remember this as an issue back even, you know, when I represented the applicant in the, you know, in the rezoning. The current parking lot, as you know, is unpaved and it's not lined. And so it's really, there's no, it predates zoning, it predates site plan review. So there's no actual approved site plan layout. And so we don't really know the number of parking spaces that we have right now. The loading dock, Marco's memo asked questions about the loading dock. We can't really tell you right now the hours of operation or the number of trips that will be employed concerning the loading dock because we don't know who the tenant, the retail tenant will be. I think as a board, you should assume that, you know, kind of in accordance with typical delivery practice at retail stores, and especially if it's a food retail store, you know, you're going to get deliveries early in the morning. I mean, most typically, trucks and tractor trailer trucks will try to arrive often before the store is open. So, you know, should anticipate early morning use. Beyond that, I can't really say much because we don't know who the tenant will be. We do understand we'll need Suffolk County Department of Public Works approval for the landscaping in the 3 Mill Harbor Road right of way. We do believe that can be obtained, but we will have to work with the DPW on that. Likewise, we will need Suffolk County Health Department approval, and obviously the comments that the issues that Marco raises in the memo concerning what the pre-existing sanitary grandfathered flow on the site are important. But we will address that with the health department, and we will provide any comments the health department supplies to us. We will supply those comments to the planning board. I will note that of the 880 gallons per day that is currently proposed in the site plan, understand that a large proportion of that is attributable to the 2 workforce housing units, even though they're only one bedroom each. We'll provide additional detail on the drainage plan and calculations. We think it's premature at this point to provide any more detail with regard to the landscaping and the lighting plans. We need more certainty from the planning board, not to mention, getting a variance from the zoning board for the number of parking spaces. But we kind of need more certainty from the board on the likelihood that this project will be approved in its current configuration. And I hopefully will get some feedback from you, in the next few minutes. Suffice it to say that we're confident that, we'll provide a landscaping plan at the end of the day that you will be satisfied with, and will be a great improvement over what's there right now. And similarly, we'll have a dark sky compliant lighting plan that, at the end of the day, you would also be happy with. I don't think there's any doubt that we can do that, but those are kind of, those would probably be housekeeping measures towards the end of the site plan process, at least how we see it.
It's a big parcel, and
Oh yeah, no, lighting and landscaping are crucial, and you have to approve it. So but we think we'll be able to satisfy you. But before we design those things, those are somewhat time consuming and expensive to get into. We really want to know where the project is going before we get to that point. I would just wrap up by saying that there are significant benefits associated with the plan as it's proposed. It's going to be a much better site appearance. You'll have a safe, very well-designed parking lot. I mean, I think the layout of the circulation within the parking lot is very, very good. It's very sound design. Again, a considerable improvement over what's there right now. There'll be improved drainage and landscaping. There'll be a new low nitrogen sanitary system on the property. There will be dark sky compliant lighting. There'll be 2 workforce housing units as currently proposed. And also, finally, there will be the permanent discontinuance of the nightclub use, which the town has long wanted to disappear. So those are my comments. If any other questions, I'm happy to answer what I can. And again, as I said, Pamela Glazer is here as well.
Very well. Thank you, Rick. All right, Sharon, this is your, I think you're the board on this one?
Yep. So I just want to first, just thank the applicant and everybody for really working on this. I think, what I'm looking at right now is a huge improvement from what we saw 3 or 4 submissions before. And, it's looking pretty good. I guess one of the biggest questions I have, if the sanitary system and the drainage structures are not on this drawing, how do we know that this still all fits?
Let me just say, I forgot to mention, we do need to supply you with that. I think that's something we like the drainage. I said we'd provide more detail on the drainage plan that would include the location of the sanitary system.
Because I think, as we've gone through this, we're slowly warming up to the idea of, less parking spaces. But if the drainage structures and then the septic gets involved, and then all of a sudden we've got even less spaces because of those 2 big items, then, we're not really looking at the right plan here, I guess is my concern. I think, like I said, I think it's an improvement from what was there, right? The landscaping that's going to buffer the parking from the residences. You've reduced the size of the building. The parking lot is going to actually work now. You've pulled it away from Oakview Highway, which is, I think, a huge improvement. Having those 2 affordable apartments, I know makes it so that you have to provide 2 extra parking spaces, and then sort of does something to your sanitary flow, but we appreciate that. I think those 2 big missing pieces just makes it incomplete in my mind. But other than that, I think it's going in the right direction. I think it's fitting on the property a lot nicer than it was. And I don't have much else to add. I think, I appreciate what you've been doing with this project, and, getting the underground parking was a big one. But, the other thing is that, the water table is so low here. So that's the other thing that makes the septic so important to have on this, and where you're going to put it.
Aaron, how do you feel about the applicant providing additional details on lighting and landscaping at this point?
I agree with Rick. I think, they've got the zoning board to deal with. If they don't get the parking variance, then that's it, So I don't mind not having that at this time.
And what about information regarding how they're going to operate in terms of the loading dock?
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're asking them to make a guess here. I don't think they have a tenant, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, I just want to make sure that
I think that, the guessing would be, but, it's not going to be after hours. I mean, early in the morning may not be great for the residences, but I think it is more over, where is it actually?
It's under the residences across from the dojo across the street. It's commercial.
Right.
There's like a welding shop or a metal shop on the other side. And then
Right. So it's away from the residences, but I really don't know what to say about that. If they don't know who the tenant is, I'm not sure.
I wanted to focus on that because those are the questions that
on the memo.
That
Sorry.
staff had for us. So, all right. Does anyone have any questions, particularly that they'd like to direct to the applicant or to Marco? Because it sounds like the applicant's next move is going to have to be to go to the ZBA and deal with their variance issues.
Well, are we going to go around? Are we going around the board?
I don't know that we need to go around. I mean, if anybody has.
Well, I've got a couple of comments.
All right, go right ahead, Lou. Go right. I don't want to hold anybody, back. We do need to address waiving the setbacks, which we've already indicated we would. maybe the applicant wants some more certainty on that, but Lou, go right ahead, and then.
Yeah, there's a number of issues on this, and I'm also glad that, we've gone through 3 or 4 different versions, and we're starting to get closer to something that's doable in my mind. I'll just focus on, bring up 2 concerns that I have with regard to the project, and that's the sanitary system and the drainage. When I first looked at it the last time we reviewed this, I was sort of appalled that the flow rate is almost 900 gallons per day. And the maximum allowable for this property is 300. But, I looked into it further, and this is notwithstanding the where they say they're grandfathered. But as Marco pointed out, it's been inactive for 2 years, so they're no longer grandfathered. But then they could possibly get a variance from the health department, which, as I understand it, they're not that difficult to get. So the point that I wanted to make is that they are putting in an IA system. I would ask the applicant that in addition to that, if they could make some mitigation enhancements to the sanitary system to bring that nitrogen level even further down than what is typical. I think typical is about 9 millimeters per liter, I think it is. If they could bring it down even further, that would help, because it is in a groundwater management zone, and that's what concerns me about the sanitary flow that they have. So if they would look at doing that, that would be a big help, and that would be a big improvement in my eyes to move this project along towards approval, because that is a very big concern of mine. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is the drainage. And I know that we don't have a plan right now, but what I'd like to see when we get to that point is some kind of, subsurface system with catch basins that feed to a filter, something of that sort that, again, would alleviate my concern for this property being in the groundwater management zone that it's in. So those are the 2 requests that I have, or to put it a different way, those are the 2 concerns that I have, that if I feel that the applicant is moving to mitigate those concerns, it would make my job a lot easier to move towards approval. So that's my comment.
Thank you for that most diplomatic set of observations. All right. I saw Kathy, I saw Randy, and I see the applicant. I'm not sure if the applicant wants to say something.
I didn't know if we should just respond, and Pam and Rick maybe would jump in.
You're welcome to. Go right ahead.
Well, did you want to finish your discussion?
To that last question?
Yes, we're not.
You might want to make sure that your attorney wants you to say something.
Well, I was going to wait till you had finished your work session discussion, your own discussion. I mean,
all right, okay. You know what?
You know me, I'll jump at any time.
You're right, Rick. That way we won't break the thing up. I thought there was an immediate comment to something, but let Randy and then Kathy, and if anybody else has anything, then we'll go, and then we'll turn it back over to you. So, okay. Randy, you had something?
Yeah, I agree with Sharon. I think, we've really come a long way with this. It looks good. It's got the apartments. It's got the alternative system. And I understand the challenge for the design team and the legal team to try to get as much usable, retail space and office space for their client. I just think this is still too much. And I'll tell you what I mean specifically. I think the loading dock first of all, the drawing of the loading dock shows the tractor on the tractor trailer in the county right of way, off the applicant's property. It also shows a second, two other.
Randy, I sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
I believe that Pam showed it, just so you could see how the vehicle would back in.
Yes.
The idea is that the cab would turn into onto the property. It wouldn't still be in the right of way.
Correct.
Right.
It fits in there. It's not like.
All right, even so, there's now two other curb cuts proposed here onto 3 Mile Harbor Road. So you now have 3 curb cuts.
It's already no curb there. There is no curb there. So it's.
Well, 3, what the county calls a curb cut onto their road. I just think you're trying to do too much, having a loading dock and your dumpsters and possibly grocery delivery and right there next to the right of way. My take is you have to give up a little more retail space and get closer to reducing the parking variance. I don't know what you do with that loading dock, but I don't think that works. And I don't know that the Department of Public Works is going to think it works either. So that's basically where I'm at. My other colleagues have covered the other stuff.
Thanks very much, Randy. Kathy? Did you have something?
Yeah, I
If you
just
don't, you
wanted,
don't.
pardon me?
If you don't, you don't.
No, I was just listening to what Randy had to say, and I think that's a really good observation. I agree with everybody else. I just wanted to thank the applicant for, reaching for the stars and settling on the earth and, making the adjustments they have made. Just to give them some feedback on, which is what they're seeking from us tonight, is my understanding on what they've proposed so that they can go forward and apply for the variances that they need. I think that the drainage system is very important. I agree with Lou about, any kind of other, if the landscaping can include any kind of plantings that can help with runoff and nitrogen filtering, although I suspect the IA system will probably be adequate. But I don't expect to see that until they determine how much, design flow. We can't ask them to design a system until they know how much they need. So I think it's fair that they haven't yet submitted that. I'm grateful for the addition of the affordable apartments, and I like the deck upstairs. I think that's a nice outdoor space. I think merging that exterior stairwell into the building will help. But I think Randy's point about, having a big tractor trailer back in over there, because that's where we discouraged egress on that side because of the Oakview Highway and Jackson Street, which you can't see on this, but it's just a little north of where you see that tractor trailer pulling in, and the motion of that tractor trailer, which is depicted in that sort of U-shaped curve. So I think figuring that part out might be worth going back and taking another stab at that, because that's having a tractor trailer stop there and have to back in. It's very close to that intersection. I think that's going to be problematic, not to mention the state right-of-way issues that Randy raised. So I just wanted to put that out there in terms of feedback. That's it.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything?
I do. Sam.
Oh, go ahead, Ed. Go right ahead.
I'll just take a moment. A lot of what I was going to say has been said. And, and again, I just want to add my voice to everyone else saying that we've come a long way. This is really a huge improvement from where we started. And I'm really especially grateful that you guys added the affordable housing units back. That's really important to us, as you know. Even though it adds to the sanitary flow problem here, we're grateful to see it. But, I tend to agree with Randy that I think there's still a little too much going on here. And I'd be happy to see a little of the retail space taken out of this so that we can come into better compliance with the parking, change up the sanitary calculations a little bit and provide a little bit of an easier in and out for loading dock. I don't think you have to sacrifice much to get there, but I think it would improve the situation tremendously if we could just scale down a little bit more. And I absolutely agree with Sharon's observation that it's really important to see, the impacts of a new sanitary system and whatever drainage accommodations need to be made on this to see if that affects any of your ability to squeeze the 47 spaces on here. If it's less than that, I think we're really going to have a problem with the ZBA. So anyway, those are my observations. I still think it's a little bit too much on the site and really important to get the sanitary and drainage on here so we understand how that impacts the overall site plan.
Thanks, Ed. Ian, it looks like you're the only one who didn't say anything, if you want to.
Yeah, just waiting my turn. But I largely agree with, what everybody else has said. It's come a long way. You're still trying to do a lot, and I understand that you're coming, down in some ways from what exists. But, if you get these variances, I think you have a fairly good plan. I'm not in any way, I don't think that I would recommend that those variances be granted, and I wouldn't oppose them. I just think that, if you convince them that you're good on them, then I think we can treat this application as if it's, meets our code at that point. I think Randy brought up a really good point, and that was the one I wanted to make too. I think that the loading dock is problematic. You have, a semi truck then that's pointing north going down 3 Mile Harbor with no clear way to turn around, and there's not a lot of destinations in the direction it would be pointed. Now, maybe there's enough room to do a full turn there, but it doesn't look like that's what's designed.
You can go down to the next street, make a right, and come around it.
You're muffled, Pam. You were muffled there. You want to try it again?
I think you can go down to Jackson, make a right, come around, and
yeah,
it's an easy loop. It's not a complicated loop.
Yeah, that's part of my issue with that. I think Kathy brought up a good point, and Randy too, that the Jackson Street, not Jackson, rather Oakview is very close, and that Jackson 3 Mile Harbor Oakview area is a sort of strange intersection. I frequently pass through it, and there are issues there. So anything that would complicate it could be problematic. I think ultimately, Randy brought up the point of curb cuts, and they're not literal curb cuts, but to have 3 access points, ingress or egresses for one property might be problematic with the state, and so you'll need to get that approval too. And then just the fact that it's right out front of the building. So I'm not saying that, if you get the DOT approval or Department of Public Works that couldn't sign off on this, but I do think that should be reconsidered if at all possible. To the point of the drainage and septic, I think it's incredibly important, obviously, but I think it's wise to wait until we sort of have a settled plan. But the applicant should know that you're going to have to fit that with whatever is decided. So I'm sure you're considering that along the way. And I think that landscaping and lighting, even more so, can definitely wait until we settle on a general flow and site plan here, so you're not wasting your time and money. So it's come a long way. I certainly don't think it's a slam dunk, but those are my comments for now.
Thanks very much, Ian. Let me just ask around, how do we feel about waiving setbacks? Is there any opposition to that? So I do setbacks.
I'm okay with waiving the setbacks at this point.
Anybody not okay with waiving the setbacks? All right, so you got that.
I think the public hearing, as always, is going to be very important.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I want to give the applicant the sense of, we've indicated it strongly, and now we've indicated it strongly again, and so they know that that's where we're going with that one issue, which I know is important. And so I guess the next thing they'll do is they'll take their they'll open up a Tuesday night for themselves and go over to our colleagues at the ZBA. So,
Just one, if you don't mind, one comment about the drainage and the sanitary system.
go right ahead. Go right ahead.
We've provided, albeit part of the public works area, Suffolk County Public Works area, we've provided that area, which is a low spot, to become a bioswale, so that we would be planting and it would become a filter for runoff from 3 Mile Harbor Road. And I think that's a really important way to deal with a lot of the water that's coming off of the highway. And also the walkway in between the parking spaces in the center of the parking lot would also be a low point. We'd have a walkway, and underneath that walkway water would be able to run down into it. So we would pitch also to the center. The previous septic system was laid out on one of the drawings from the health department, and it was a much larger system than we're actually requesting, and it fit with no problem. So because we'll be reducing the number of tanks, I really don't see it as an issue, but again, we will have it completely designed, of course, so along with drainage, and we'll know 100%. But again, it's waiting for the final footprint and to know really the size of the system makes all the difference. In terms of being aggressive, we really haven't changed the footprint much from the original. So we've added a lot of the addition is to the second level. So I don't think from a building point of view, it's a major, a much larger impact that's already there. And we are definitely cleaning up the site completely. Maybe we don't provide a loading dock. Maybe it's not necessary. So that might resolve that problem altogether. Maybe we just don't need one. We don't know who our tenant is, and it may not even be a requirement. So we thought to put one in, but it may not even be an issue, maybe a moot point.
Yeah, that could be a good way to go. And thanks for that bioswale. That's very encouraging.
The bioswale, that's very good, especially considering the pitch at that point.
The plate is definitely lower than the road. And at one point we were talking about a new building, in which case we would have probably filled the site in to some degree, but because we're using the existing building, we can't do that now. So we have to keep that same elevation. So we do have to deal with it in terms of pitch and drainage, and the bioswale, I think is a great.
It's
Terrific. That's a great asset.
You are building. I mean, the only thing I've heard about this application in terms of potential use is as a market of some sort, and I would expect that if it's given the size of it, you're almost certainly going to need or want to present to a potential tenant a loading dock. So I recognize that. So, but at the same time, you've heard some what I think are very valid comments about the positioning of that. So you're going to need to.
It is located within our property line. It is not in the town, in the Suffolk County Public Works area. And there is a very, very large shoulder on this particular road. So I feel like we're way off the actual roadway.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I'm thinking is you really need to recognize that as a planning board, when we look at something like this, at least speak for myself, and I imagine a few others, is that we think about, well, what happens in 5 years from now when anybody coming down that road knows there's a problem over there because there's always a truck, and then they say, how did they let that happen? And so that's kind of where my thinking is. But all right, look, let's go on. We appreciate it very much. You go like I say, to the ZBA and do what you must, and we'll see you again.
Very good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. And again, Martha, thank you for that report. And do we have the representative from New Singular? Are they with us yet?
I don't see them.
If you're referring to Matt, no, I do not see him.
Is there anyone on the phone?
And there's nobody on the phone lines.
This one involves sound issues, correct? with the generator and all that.
Yes.
Thomas, what do you think? Do we?
I mean, normally I'd say wait for the applicant, but this one was noticed last week and he didn't appear last week. And he was noticed by Jody on Friday and by me sending the link today. So, you know, I mean,
All right, then let's go with it.
yeah, I think if the board wants to go with it, then that's fine. You know, obviously, I think some of this, just knowing it, may require something from the applicant. So
That's my concern, but you know what? Let's hear what Eric has and who's the committee, the board on this is Kathy. So, all right, Eric, go right ahead.
Okay, hopefully you can see the plans here. The noise issue is still outstanding, as you mentioned, Sam. The applicants did submit additional noise information for the proposed generator, which you can see in the box on the right-hand side on that plan. Depending upon how they situate it, the noise ranges from 63.8 dBA to 59.9 dBA. This at the property line. This would still exceed the 55 dBA that's allowed in the evening at a property line in a commercial zoning district. So basically the noise, and also keep in mind that those measurements are taken at 23 feet away from the generator, and the generator is proposed roughly 5 feet away from the property line, which hopefully you can see an aerial photograph now. The building on the top of the screen is the Emergency Services Communication Building. Eddie's office is in there. You can see the tower to the right of it. And then actually, if you can see my cursor here, I'm sort of circling what's an existing generator, which is owned by the town. And then just jumping back to the plan, this is that existing generator. You can see they're proposing to put it right by it. And then jumping back to the aerial. So you can see that it's basically proposed in this area here, which is right on top of the property line, which is this white line. So, you know, I don't know in that location how they're possibly going to meet the noise requirements. It's right on top of the property line. However, we do remind you that the board has, in all applications, required that applications for new generators, whether it be for wireless facilities or otherwise, meet the noise standard. You set a strong precedent over that. And then again, as a reminder, you do not have an ability as the planning board to waive the noise requirements of Chapter 185 of the Town Code. And also the Zoning Board of Appeals has no authority to grant a variance from those standards because they're not part of 255, the zoning chapter. So the noise issue remains outstanding. I did speak with Eddie Schnell earlier about the possibility. My thought was there's no way getting around that it's so close to the property line that you're going to be able to meet the noise requirements. You could bury it, but there's all equipment and cabling in this area for all the other equipment. I don't think that that's possible. I don't know that they make a sound attenuation box or anything like that that's effective enough to meet the noise standard when you're so close to the property line. I spoke with Eddie and I suggested maybe moving it across the access road here over into this area and then just running the electric underneath the road. He said that he didn't think it was possible. He mentioned that there's a parking lot over here. There's another parking area here that we store trailers over here. So he didn't seem to think that that was feasible. So, I mean, essentially, unfortunately, we're at an impasse right now on the issue of noise.
Eric, did you have any, we had asked the applicant if he could share the town generator. Did you hear anything back on that?
We haven't gotten anything back on it.
I actually spoke to Eddie on that, and he did not, just to make it short, he did not think that was a possibility.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah, that's a public-private partnership that I don't think is in the cards. You know, look, we don't have the applicant here. We know what the issues are. If you want to add something, I'm sure you do, Kathy, go right ahead. But I don't think we need an extended discussion on this because, you know, like Eric said, we're at an impasse. So go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, no, I don't, as Eric said, you know, we can't really act on this unless the applicant finds a way to mitigate the noise impacts. I think it might be worth investigating, although Eddie I talked to him today too, and the thing that I found more discouraging about the idea of putting it over across the way where Eric suggested earlier by that storage trailer and the parking area is he seemed to think that there were gas lines in there and that might prohibit, any kind of, I forget what the process is called where they have to drill under the road, but they would have to do that to connect it.
I think that's the technical name, drill under the road.
Drilling under the road.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Directional boring.
Boring, thank you. That's
Directional
it. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
But I think they're going to have to come back to us with some sound attenuation plan. We can't, our hands are tied here. They have to meet the code or propose a different location that's functional. I mean, if they can't have it there, maybe they can put it, I don't know. I think you just have to look at different places on the property to do it. There must be another place where it can go.
You know what I think the thing to do with this, I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to, like I said, I don't want to spend a lot of time. Thomas, I think that the thing for us to do here is for us to write a letter to the applicant, tell them that we've got an issue with the sound attenuation, and but we can't act on it unless we interact with them. And can they kindly circle a date in their calendar that they know they'll be here? And then we can go forward, because otherwise we don't have any shot clock issues with this, do we?
Yes.
We do?
We're way over the shot clock requirement.
All right, but there's 2 meetings that they've skipped, right?
Yes. But this issue's been going on since last year.
This isn't the first time they've heard about this.
Yeah, no, I know. What frustrates me is the idea that, we put it on the agenda, we get, staff gets ready, you get ready, Kathy, and, and there is a live issue. This is not like it's some benign little, do we do this or do we do that? This is a significant issue. I mean.
Why don't we deny it, Sam? That would,
Thomas?
That would stop the clock.
I think if the board finds that there needs to be either a change in location or sound attenuation, then Jody can put that in the letter that goes to the applicant after the meeting, like she does with, all the other applications, and, we can have them submit something.
But I want them to show up. That's the thing. I mean, Randy raises a very good.
Well, the whole idea of the shot clock running out, that's on a complete application. This is, the argument here is that it's not complete. So I don't,
All right, then that's not an issue. But
so if it's incomplete, we wouldn't be voting on whether to approve or deny it anyway. So it's on them. I think your letter is a good suggestion, Sam, and just say, please let us know when you're ready to submit. The board cannot act on this. The application is incomplete until appropriate sound attenuation has been verified.
Yeah, and we can't go forward so we can talk. So Jody, when we prepare the letter, we'll mention something about, you've been on a couple of times and, our time is valuable. I don't get like that, but we'll have something.
One other point, this generator would be almost directly across from the planning department.
Yes, and not an insignificant issue.
You see, no. Eric has a very serious look on his face.
Ed, were you chiming in on something?
No.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have anything? Assuming we don't, which I don't think we would, we can wrap up the work session part of our evening.
Yeah.
And move on to the regular meeting. And the first matter is Daniel Gatsby scheduling a public hearing. Ian, yours.
In the matter of the application of Daniel Gatsby site plan special permit to schedule a public hearing for April 2nd, 2021. I've read the resolution. Oh, I'm sorry, for March 3rd,
Oh, no.
But it's the wrong date. It says 2020.
Okay, then just, I would just say
As
Yeah,
corrected.
so
as amended.
scheduled for Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard. I've read the resolution and move for its adoption.
Second,
As corrected. As corrected.
second as amended.
Amended. Correct. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yes. All right, 7-0. Okay, R phase 2, Randy. Randy, do you have this one?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Go right ahead.
In the matter of the application of the Animal Rescue Fund of the Hamptons Incorporated Phase 2 Site Plan, Suffolk County Tax Act 300-192-34, Site Plan Special Permit Approval. I think I don't know that I need to read any more. I've read the resolution of approval and I move for its adoption.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passed and carried, 7-0. No, Randy, you don't have to read it because you're the board. So if you've read it, then presumably we've all read it, but you're the one who has to really vet it. So,
Okay.
okay, very good. Shared generator, Sharon, it's yours.
Yeah, in the matter of the application site plan of approval, shared generator program site plan, tax map number 300-150-3-16.5. I have read this resolution and move to adopt.
Is there a second?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
You abstaining? Okay.
I'm abstaining.
Ed's abstaining. Okay. Yeah, I suspected that we had that last time on this one. All right, 5. So 5-4. Any opposed?
I'll abstain too because I think they could have put it on a better spot on the lot.
Okay, so we have, well, all right, let's do it this way. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any more? Aye. I'm an aye. So we have,
That's 4.
Joe, are you keeping score? Do we have 4?
4, yes.
Thank you very much. Any opposed?
I'll oppose. I'll do
You're
it.
opposed. Okay. Any other opposed? Any abstains?
I abstain.
Kathy,
Abstain.
okay. So we have 4, 1, 2. Okay. Very good. Pass. Good work. All right. Next is New Singular Wireless at Amagansett Fire Department. Kathy, that's yours.
Okay, in the matter of the application of New Singular Wireless, AKA AT&T at Amagansett Fire Department Site Plan Special Permit Personal Wireless Service Facility Modification 2, Suffolk County Tax Act number 300-150-3-16.5. I read the resolution and move for its adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7-0. Okay, it is 8:04. We don't have a meeting next week, correct?
No, we don't, because President's Week.
Oh, okay. Well, we had 3 weeks in a row and we covered a lot of ground and did a lot of solid work. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank staff. I want to thank LTV for your continued assistance in these difficult COVID times.
And you are very welcome.
Thank you. And planning staff, thank you all very much. Thomas, thank you. Planning board, as always, thank you very much for your hard work.
Motion to adjourn?
And thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Randy. Is there a second?
Second.
There we
Thanks,
go. Thank
Sam.
you. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Anybody say no? All right, we're adjourned. Everybody have a great couple of weeks. See you.
You too. Everybody have a